Hello, I'm David Gower. Welcome to the Oval for another chapter of England versus Australia, the oldest international rivalry in cricket. Well, except for America and Canada, who, strictly speaking, played the very first Test match. But we'll let that pass. And the desire to win hasn't abated at all in that time. In fact, it seems to be getting worse.
There are various ways of returning the ball to the wicket-keeper at the end of the over, which is what the bowler should do, and this is one of them.
It's a competition which has seen the very finest displays of batsmanship.
Oh, that's a great shot.
Shot.
It's in the air, and it could be six. Tremendous hit, it's right over the top. Mighty shot.
Don't bother looking for that, let alone chasing it. It's going straight into the confectionery stall and out again.
The most brilliant attacks of fast bowling.
He's out. Bowled him. What a good delivery that was.
2 men to 6. And he's clean bowled.
The most cunning feats of spin bowling.
And he's gone. Caught by Wally Grant at the wicket.
First ball. And the safest pair of hands.
That's Smith coming in under it. It's a great catch. And he's caught him.
Is that out? Yes.
Oh, what a great catch. What a magnificent catch.
And all for what? Just for a tiny urn full of ashes. These are the first moving images of an Australian touring side in England. It's 1905 and the team is full of legends, names which have since been passed down by generations: Trumper, Noble, Hill and Darling. Then as now, the Ashes were big news, and they attracted huge crowds and media interest wherever they went. The English team was also packed with stars, and only 18 months before, they'd become the first team to win the Ashes away from home. Greeting the Australians at Lord's were players of the calibre of Braund, Rhodes, Plum Warner and Bosanquet, the inventor of the googly. The Australians were roundly defeated, with England's captain, the Honourable F.S. Jackson, averaging 70 with the bat and taking 13 wickets at 15. He was a lucky captain too, winning all 5 tosses. These were truly the Edwardian glory days, an era that marked the birth of the modern game, as the rules, the teams and the styles of play that we recognise today were by now largely established. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, and so to fill you in on the background of the competition we know as the Ashes, I'll hand you over to that legend of the commentary box, John Arlott.
WG played against the Australian team of 1882 that at the Oval inflicted on England their first home defeat, an incredible shock to all cricketing England. It was the only test of the season. England needed just 85 in their second innings to win, but Spofforth, with his fast off breaks, took 7 for 44 and Australia won by 7 runs. Hungary beating England at soccer was nothing compared with the shock this gave. It seemed incredible. As a result, the Sporting Times printed the now well-worn obituary of English cricket with the footnote that the body will be cremated and the ashes taken to Australia. So, when an English team led by the Honourable Ivo Bligh followed hard on the heels of the returning Australians, it was popularly said in England that he was going to recover the Ashes. Australia won the first of the 3 planned matches, But then England took the next two, and two Australian ladies burnt a bale, put the ashes of it in this urn, and presented it to the Honourable Ivo Bligh. Thereupon, the Australians demanded, got, and won a fourth Test match. But Bligh kept his urn and married one of the ladies who created it. And now, irrespective of who metaphorically holds the ashes, this urn remains always here at Lord's.
After the cut and thrust of the Edwardian era, where players had become national and indeed international figures, and the county championship had become established in the nation's consciousness, the First World War cut a swathe through English cricket, with nearly 80 players lost on the fields of France. Organised cricket had never known such an interruption before, and it took a long time for the game to recover in England. In Australia, they weren't affected by casualties to the same extent, and so began a familiar pattern of Australian dominance interspersed with periods of briefer dominance by the English. One player who did survive the war to continue what was already a glorious career was Jack Hobbs of Surrey. He was a shining light at a time when English cricket was plumbing the depths, beaten, for example, in the 1921 series 5-0 for the first time. But Hobbs, who was 37 years old by this time, was about to enter a golden period, and cricket fans everywhere should be grateful to the newsreels for recording his style for posterity. Under his influence, and in tandem with that other batting titan, Herbert Sutcliffe, English cricket dragged itself out of its post-war decline. Here at the Oval, Hobbs became a model of batsmanship for the generation that followed him. And there was, of course, one man who learnt those lessons more astutely than anyone. He was the boy from Bowral, Don Bradman.
Don Bradman made 157.
The Don, as he became known, was brought to the notice of the British public during the MCC tour of 1929. What the English fans saw of him and his teammates on their cinema screens made the 1930 Australian tour one of the most eagerly awaited in Ashes history. And sure enough, Bradman didn't disappoint.
Woodfall has won the toss for the first time in this series of tests and has naturally decided to bat first. Chapman and his men are just taking the field. Larwood is opening the bowling to Woodfall. England have never won a test on this ground yet, but it doesn't look like they're going to win this one the way Bradman is batting. Every time he scores something. Hardly a ball gone in this over he hasn't scored from. Bradman has scored his century before lunch. The English team are just taking the field after the luncheon interval. Bradman's 199 now. That's his 200. Well done. Kippax is just out. He's made 77 and a wonderful stand with Bradman. The scoreboard reads remarkable at the end of the first day. 458 is the total, out of which Bradman has made 309 not out. It's a world's record. They're all surrounding him and patting him on the back. English team are just taking the field on the second day of the match. Look like having another strenuous day in the field. Bradman still at the top of his form. There's young Don Bradman going out to continue his wonderful record of yesterday. He's accompanied by McCabe to the wicket. Larwood is opening the bowling to McCabe this morning.
Right.
He just cut that one for 2, I should think. Yes, a run 2. Tate is bowling that end to Bradman. He's just cut that one for 2. Bradman seems as though he's going to score the... He's got another run out of it. Bradman seems as though he's going to score as fast this morning as he was yesterday.
Hello.
John.
Hello, how are you?
How are you enjoying your trip to England?
Oh, having a great time, thanks.
That's the idea.
Why, how are you? We're just having a wonderful time. The people are treating us so well that we're wondering we don't like going back home hardly enough. It's a wonderful time. But we find we're having a good deal of trouble with the weather. I don't think it's been a good summer. It's been dull and rainy most of the time. In fact, we've only had about one decent month all the time we've been here. And that was about the second month after we arrived. Then, of course, with the dull weather, it makes cricket much harder. We're used to a very bright light, middle of summer, the hot weather. And when you get on these dull conditions, it makes it very awkward for you to see the ball. I suppose it's all right when you get used to it, but for a start it's very awkward. And then, of course, the wickets too are not too good at the commencement. And being so different to our own, we feel all at sea for a little while, but now we're gradually getting accustomed to them and we're finding our feet a lot better. No, I've never started out to break any records. I've always tried to do the best I can for the team that I'm playing for. If they want me to go in and lose my wicket so that they can win the match, well, I'll be quite happy to do so. On the other hand, if they want me to get runs, then I try and get as many runs as I possibly can. And if in getting those runs I should happen to break any record, well, naturally, I'm very pleased, but I do not deliberately set out to try and break records. As regards Jack Hobbs, I think he has built up a wonderful record that will probably stand for all time, and no Australian will ever beat his figures because they don't play sufficient cricket to do so. In any case, he is a wonderful cricketer, and his record will probably stand for all time. But records or no records, I'm looking forward to the time when I can come back again to England, which I'm hoping to do someday, and renew acquaintances with all the many friends I have made on this tour over here.
That's fine. That's fine.
We're just going to show you the English team batting. Australia took 7 3/4 hours to make 345, and England will have to go much more quickly than this if they're going to force a win. The Australian team going out to field on the second day of the Manchester Test. Their total was 345. Hobbs and Sutcliffe, famous English opening player, going out to play against Australia. Hobbs is by no means obsolete yet.
Don't be too facetious, Mr. Lyon.
All right, and the same to you with Hobbs on. The first over of England's first innings at Manchester. Hobbs batting to Wall. Sutcliffe playing the Australian fast bowler. Played into third man for a single. Sutcliffe playing Wall. 4 runs. He's after the runs. There's his 50th. Grimmett bowling to Sutcliffe. Good shot. Through the covers for 4. Sutcliffe playing Grimmett. There's a higher flight one. Pulls it round the leg. 4 again. Sutcliffe coming in after making 74. Caught right on the boundary by Bradman, right in the crowd.
At 11:15 on the 6th day of the 5th and final Test match, Sutcliffe and Weissel going to the wicket to continue their innings. Weissel being 6 not out and Sutcliffe 8 not out.
Sutcliffe playing Grimmett on the 6th morning. Ball's turning a bit. It's a blank day yesterday. heavy rain stopped play.
Fairfax bowling to Sutcliffe. Got in front of that one. Oldfield fell nastily there. Wicket must be still slippery.
There's a very wet patch at this end of the wicket, and a great deal of sawdust had to be put down to give the batsman a decent foothold.
Fairfax is bowling to Sutcliffe again. That's gone for 2. Yes, 2 runs. Dulip Sinji taking his first ball from Grimmett. Broke across his legs. APF Chapman, England's ex-captain, watching England's downfall from the balcony.
Hammond playing Hornibrook. He's out, he's out. Caught second slip, Australia have won the Ashes of 1930. Fine innings.
Woodfall has been collared round the front of the pavilion. Police are rushing across, protecting the players as they go in. Australia have won a very fine victory, and they deserve to take the Ashes home with them.
We are very, very pleased indeed that we have achieved one of our great objects, the regaining of the Ashes for our native land, Australia. We have made hosts of friends in the old land, and those members of the side who will be fortunate enough to get a place to tour England in 1934 will no doubt look forward to renewing old acquaintances. I would just like to add a few little words of appreciation for what the English people have done for us. We've enjoyed every minute of it, and I'm anxiously looking forward to the time when I'm hoping to be able to come back again and enjoy another tour throughout England. You've just heard Mr. Richardson say a few moments ago that there are a few bad boys on this side that they need some looking after. He didn't mention any names. I hope he wasn't referring to me, but I think I'll have to have a few words with him afterwards.
The English cricketing establishment decided that something needed to be done to curb this voracious run-getter, and special preparations were made for the tour of 1933. This series remains the most controversial in all Test history.
Verity, is it all right?
Douglas Jardine was England's captain, and he adapted from county cricket a method of fast bowling to a leg-side field that slowed high-scoring batsmen. Jardine himself called it leg theory, but it became more widely known as bodyline.
Mr. Larwood. Mr. Hammond. Mr. Duckworth. Bowes. Mr. Brown. Mr. Ames. Mr. Allen. First whistle has just gone. We've had a wonderful send-off at St. Pancras and all the way down the line. When we get to Australia, we shan't forget the good wishes of those who've been kind enough to come and see us off. And we hope that we will do as they hope we will do and return with the Ashes.
Sydney Cricket Ground, where all Australia seems to have foregathered to watch the first stage of the struggle for the Ashes. England come out to field, having lost the toss, and Woodfull and Ponsford opened the innings for Australia. With the score at 22, Woodfull falls to a catch at the wicket by Ames off Bose, and Australia's troubles commence.
With Bradman absent for the first test at Sydney, England cruised to victory by 10 wickets, with the two quicks, Larwood and Vose, accounting for 16 of the 20 wickets.
Here's Allen hurling them down. Vose bowls his leg theories to the disapproval of pavilion critics, if not of the whole subcontinent. Larwood sends down his expresses faster than ever, and none of the Australians find the way to deal with them, until Stan McCabe comes in for fourth wicket when 3 wickets have fallen for 82. McCabe, who from the Australian point of view is the hero of the match, steps into Don Bradman's shoes and defies the English attack to the extent of 187 not out, carrying his bat. The tail wags feebly on the first innings. Nigel bowl Larwood for a duck and O'Reilly bowl Vos for 4. England face a moderate total of 360 against them with confidence. Sutcliffe and Wyatt put on 112 for the first wicket, and Sutcliffe especially is in his most polished form. Hammond stays for 112, and England appears set for an enormous score. However, after Sutcliffe is dismissed for 194, a small rot sets in. Leyland goes out for a duck, and Jardine, after playing himself in with care, is caught at wicket off McCabe for 27. Verity, sent in early to play out time, is legged before wicket to Wall. Fortunately, the Nawab of Patodi intended to get a century in his first test match, like Ranji and Duleep before him. He succeeds, but is bowled almost immediately afterwards by Nigel. Larwood, going in 9th wicket, takes a duck. England, with 524, have a lead of 164 on the first innings. Australia's second innings opens sensationally with a collapse, for which a crumbling pitch may have been partly responsible. Woodfull, the unbowlable, is bowled by Larwood. Stan McCabe goes cheaply this time. The game looks all over when Australia's tail begins to wag. Here's the incident when Ames fails to accept a chance to stump Nigel, so necessitating an extra day's play for England to score 1 run. The stands are empty on the last day. The final Australian wicket falls with Australia's 2 totals equal to England's first innings score of 524. Sutcliffe and Wyatt go out to make the necessary 1 run for the MCC to win.
On a dead Melbourne strip, the Australians squared the series. It was at Adelaide for the 3rd test that matters ran out of control. Wisden would describe what followed as the most unpleasant match ever played.
Pingleton partners Woodfull to the wicket, who opens the scoring with a single off Allen's first ball.
The pitch itself was poorly prepared and therefore abnormally lively. Jardine was in an even more uncompromising mood than usual, and Larwood was in blistering form. This was a terrifying set of circumstances.
It was at this point in the game that Woodfull was unfortunately struck on the heart by a ball from Larwood which got up.
Larwood, bowling to a conventional field, hit Bill Woodfull, the respected Australian captain, over the heart. Woodfull spent a long time on the floor before he recovered enough to carry on. For the next delivery he faced from Larwood, Jardine set a leg-side field and instructed Larwood to bowl Bodyline. The crowd went berserk, and it seemed that a full-scale riot was on the verge of breaking out.
He is in great form and bowls to a leg trap to which Bradman falls a victim when he has only scored 8. Here is a good view of the field set for a leg trap. The umpire scrutinises every delivery of Larwood's for a no ball. Australia are not in a very happy position, and with Woodfull out, after pluckily continuing his innings, 4 wickets are down for 51. None of the Australians seem able to deal with the leg theory bowling, with the exception of Ponsford, who is pulling the game round for his side.
Ponsford made 85 while being hit 10 times by Larwood on the back and side, and Woodfull hung on grimly to carry his bat in the second innings. Keeper Bert Oldfield was hit on the temple, mishooking a Larwood bumper that once more had the crowd up in arms.
Struck on the head, Larwood again being the unlucky bowler. In consequence of these unfortunate incidents, Larwood is submitted to a good deal of barracking. is not deterred, however, and O'Reilly is another quick victim. Bose makes a magnificent catch in the slips, which sends Grimmett back for 10. When Wall is bowled, the Australian innings closes for 222 runs, 119 behind England's total, and England eventually win one of the most sensational cricket matches ever played by 338 runs.
There were some old pros at home who were wondering quite what the fuss was about, as Bodyline was hardly a new invention.
This leg theory, or bodyline bowling, has been going on for years. Fred Root, for instance, of Worcestershire, he's bowled this all the time I've known since the war. The difference, as far as I can understand, in this type now, being used by Larwood and Bose, is that they are so much faster off the pitch that the batsmen have to move quicker on their feet to make an effective shot. Now you see the position of the leg theory. The field is actually placed on the leg side as the ordinary bowler bowling the off theory would have his field on the off side.
The bowler's aim is to make the batsman play the ball into the net of fieldsmen clustered on his leg side, who are eagerly awaiting the chance of a catch. Of course, if the batsman is slow, he stands the risk of being hit by the rising ball, as you see now.
In Brisbane, the Ashes were regained, but not without effort.
The scene of the fourth Test match in which England recaptured the Ashes is laid at Brisbane. Here in Queensland is really semi-tropical country, and the sun blazes down from the cloudless sky like a molten ball of fire on this, the hottest day of the tour. Again, Australia are lucky with the toss, and the MCC take the field. Closely followed by the opening batsmen, Woodfall nearest the camera, and Victor Richardson. In the broiling heat, Larwood opens his shock attack, bowling first the orthodox off theory. Runs, however, come with slow assurance, and Larwood reverts to his leg theory, which the crowd mildly resents. Australia's first wicket stand ended at 133 with Richardson's departure. And Bradman appears. He is not very comfortable against Larwood, but he knocks up a useful 76 before being dismissed. The Australian total did not reach the figure expected on the form of the early batsmen, and the tail-enders, failing again, left the MCC with only a score of 340 to top. Jardine and Sutcliffe opened for England, Jardine in cut sleeves and wearing his MCC cap. Some dogged play gives England 114 for the first wicket. Eventually, O'Reilly gets Jardine caught at wicket by Love. Wally Hammond comes in, and Dodd Brandman is called upon to bowl, having yorked the Gloucestershire cricketer in the previous Test. He has a curious action. English wickets begin to fall. Sutcliffe is LBW to O'Reilly. Hammond is bowled out of his ground by McCabe. Leyland, the star of the second innings, with a great effort of 86, has a brisk knock before being caught by Bradman in the deep. Allen hits an exciting 6. But Wall, Australia's fast bowler, gets him at 13, caught at the wicket. Painter is the next man in.
When England were 124 for 6 in the first innings, Eddie Painter was in hospital with a temperature of 102. Jardine made Vos smuggle him out, and with egg and brandy served him at the wicket, he stayed in to score 83.
But soon goes to a brilliant catch by Darling behind the bowler. Larwood plays a characteristically bright innings before being bowled by McCabe.
Eddie Painter had the honour of hitting the winning 6 in the second innings.
And so England's score mounts gradually, with Painter as the hero. His 83 enables the MCC to pass Australia's score and establish a winning position. It was Painter who, having conquered his illness, sealed the fate of the Ashes in the second innings with a magnificent hit for 6. And if the crowds were disappointed to see Australia routed, it did not hinder the expression of their natural exuberance according to the best sporting traditions. When the MCC sailed for Australia, who would have predicted that England would win 4 out of the 5 tests, making the total victories 51 each? Who would have given Bradman an average of only 56 runs an innings? This series of tests will be remembered as Larwood's. His leg theory bowling has been the subject of bitter controversy. But if his success with express deliveries, apart altogether from any question of leg theory, has the effect of encouraging strong young bowlers to put their faith in speed, cricket generally should benefit. The biggest factor in England's triumph has been Larwood's mastery of Bradman, and he got him again in the final test, when the young wizard had scored 48 out of 64. The Australian crowds have been outspoken in their criticism of the leg theory.
The great Bradman had had his average halved. He would return, of course, but this would be Larwood's last test series. The uncompromising and some would say unsympathetic Jardine returned home to local cheers.
On the tender, Jardine is easily recognised despite his cowboy hat, and so is Maurice Tate.
But at one point, diplomatic relations had almost been severed between the two countries, and one player, Maurice Tate, had fled the Adelaide Oval, fearing a lynch mob.
The cricketers are greeted by the Provost of Greenock.
I convey to you, Captain Jardine, and all the members of your victorious team, a most hearty welcome to the homeland.
I have to thank you, Mr. Provost, on behalf of the great team that it was my privilege to lead, and myself, for this extraordinary kind welcome to us, back to our homeland, as you so happily put it. Thank you very much, sir.
The repercussions would continue to affect Test cricket for decades afterwards. Jardine's remote demeanour remained apparently untroubled throughout.
Walters and Sutcliffe start again. Walters scores 1. Woolley scores 1 less.
When the 1934 series came around, Larwood refused to play, arguing that the English authorities had bowed to pressure not to play their best team, or indeed to employ their best tactics. Jardine chose to view the series from the press box. No one was willing to risk another Bodyline.
Finally, Allen, 26, is stumped off Grimmett. Total 145. 526 too few. Immediately, the players are after souvenirs of the match.
An England side without Jardine, Larwood and his speed partner Vos was a very different proposition to the one 18 months earlier. England was spun out of the series by O'Reilly and Grimmett, eventually losing 2-1. In so doing, that great gentleman, Bill Woodfull, became the first captain to regain the Ashes twice. Both times, incidentally, on his birthday, August the 22nd.
Jack Hobbs, fated on his retirement from first-class cricket by his star newspaper colleagues.
Another former Test player had decided to hang up his county boots as well. One whose career seemed to belong to a lost age when compared to the tooth and claw battles of recent years.
It's a farewell dinner to that great cricketer,
Jack Hobbs. It has been a wonderful life, full of delightful associations, varied experiences, happy memories, enriched by friendships formed at home and beyond the seas. Yet amidst all these pleasant recollections, oft times there is one sad thought: my failure to score my 200th century.
Still, 197 is not a bad record, Jack.
The Ashes stayed in Australia 3 tests to 2 in 1937, but the charm of Captain Gubby Allen managed to restore some of the good relations between the two adversaries.
And as for those Ashes, well, they'll have to stay where they are, at any rate for the present.
Soon after their arrival, the tourists have net practice at Lord's with quite a crowd watching. McCabe takes a knock. The vice-captain is one of the men we've got to get out. And that left arm of Fleetwood Smith's practices its googlies. Woodfull, the former captain, has come over to watch and hopes to see O'Reilly capturing English wickets.
In truth, there was little to choose between the two teams in the 1930s. The difference was, of course, Bradman. By 1938, he had become secure in the captaincy, and he surpassed Hobbs's Ashes record of 12 centuries. He compiled an astonishing 3,636 runs on the tour. His countrymen were desperate for news of his achievements, but how did they find out in an age before satellites? The answer might surprise you.
MCC tours in Australia, they're able to follow the game ball by ball on huge display boards. When the tours are in England, Australians expect the same service from the radio stations. Since atmospherics are liable to affect reception, cables have been called in to assist radio. It's a very ingenious scheme, as you'll see, for the atmosphere of a broadcast from the ground is retained, although the transmission is made in Australia on minute-to-minute information supplied by cable. There's no time to explain the whole paraphernalia, but there's an effects man to reproduce crowd scenes from a record, and you'll be amused by the use of the commentator's pencil to denote that meeting bull at the right moment in his commentary.
Ball into Bradman. It's a short ball. Bradman moves back and pulls scarcely past square leg. Hutton running round from deep fine leg has no chance as the ball goes under the ropes for another 4. That's 4 more to Bradman, taking his score to 97, a typical Bradman shot, giving the fieldsman no chance of saving the boundary. Now Ames throws the ball back to Farnes. Farnes turns, runs in, ball into Bradman. It's ball well pitched, Bradman moves forward, drives. Cotton at cover tries to cut it off, but is beaten by the pace of the ball, and it races away for another 4.
Very ingenious, isn't it? Hutton walks out with Hardstaff on the 3rd day. Of all the records broken in this test, one excites the Oval crowd most, the beating of Bradman's highest ever test score. Here's the historic stroke that does it. Bradman is first to congratulate Hutton.
With rain affecting most of the games, the series was drawn 1-1. But in the final test at the Oval, a young English bat staked a claim for immortality, and in the process led England to their largest ever Ashes victory.
What a day for the 22-year-old Yorkshireman, who goes on to make 364 before being sent back. Bradman, trying everything, puts himself on to bowl, and the scorer puts up a little 8. Then, as if Australia weren't in trouble already, Bradman has to be carried off the field by White and Fleetwood Smith after breaking a shin while bowling. Bradman out of the test and Fingleton, and that's England's total. What else is there to tell, except a word from the hero?
Today, I think, has been one of the happiest days of my cricketing career. I managed to beat Don's great record, and I must say I felt very pleased when I'd achieved it.
And that's really all, for I don't suppose you want to see the 9 Australians' 2 brief innings. As you know, England win by an innings and 579 runs, amid the usual scenes of enthusiasm. But the last laugh is Australia's. They have the Ashes.
World War II put a stop to the Ashes for 8 years, but old teammates now in uniform could occasionally keep their eye on it.
Those present at Lord's included Major Allen, Lieutenant Peter Smith, Major Holmes, Sergeant Major Gower and Sergeant Evans, sportsmen in uniform taking a brief holiday. Here's Flight Lieutenant Ames and Squadron Leader Edrich, DFC, and the 2 majors. This was August Bank Holiday 1942 at Lord's, where thousands of workers spent a few well-deserved hours of rest watching Middlesex and Essex play Kent and Surrey. Allen bowling to Fishlock. Nichols bowling to Ames, who made 34. Nichols gets a wicket, Parker's. Young Bailey of Essex, fresh from school bowling. He took 4 for 36, 3 of them in his first over. Evans of Kent batting and reaching his half-century.
A weakened England side with players such as Headley Verity killed in battle, others still in uniform, meant that a 3-0 loss in 1946 came as no surprise. Bradman led his final tour in 1948, and by most people's reckoning this was the strongest team ever to set foot on a boat. He brought with him many future legends of the game, such as the pacemen Lindwall and Miller, and the batsmen Harvey, Morris and Barnes.
Sam Loxton, Neil Harvey, Ray Lindwall and Bill Johnson. By way of contrast, here's Douglas Ring. And Don Bradman himself, playing deck quoits with one of the passengers. There was nothing very strenuous, as you see. Here's Sam Loxton doing a bit of gentle bowling, together with young Harvey and Ernest Toshek. Ray Lindwall couldn't possibly do any serious fast bowling on deck, so he contented himself with loosening up exercise. Oh yes, there was a cricket match, and it was watched with a keen eye by the manager of the team, Keith Johnston. Bill O'Reilly, now a cricket correspondent, bowls to a passenger with Ian Johnson behind the sticks. Fingleton fielding. Like O'Reilly, he writes about the game nowadays. Of course, from England's point of view, it might be a good idea if Captain Allen skippered the Aussies and Don were to command the liner. As the Strathayr neared Southampton, Hassett, Miller and Ring, like the rest of the team, were keenly looking across at the English coastline. Here are Johnson, Talon, Harvey, Loxton and McCool. McCool, I'm afraid, found it a bit chilly, but let's hope we have a summer like last year's. The Australian team of 17 is the biggest ever sent from the Commonwealth, and only 4 of them have been here previously for tests. Naturally, there was a large crowd to give them a warm welcome, with press and newsreel men very much on the spot. A number of short speeches were made, and this is what Don Bradman had to say.
We are very glad indeed. In fact, I cannot tell you how delighted we are to be back in England once again. We're very anxious to get on shore and get on with the business.
The English side was hardly a shoddy outfit, including as it did Compton, Edridge, Bedser, Hutton and Washbrook. They failed, though, to post large enough scores to really trouble the tourists.
As for the match itself, well, that was a tragedy for England. In reply to Australia's first innings score of 350, our batsmen put up a very poor show. Dollery, for instance, was clean bowled by Lindwall for a duck. When Coxon went, caught and bowled by Ian Johnson, things looked pretty bad. Could England save the follow-on? They could and did, thanks to Wright. This was on the Friday, and on the same day the teams were presented to the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. The Duke, of course, was until recently Governor-General of Australia. On the Saturday, Bradman delighted the vast crowd, among which was the Duke of Edinburgh, enjoying an afternoon off from naval duties. Barnes rubbed salt in England's wounds with a well-compiled century. Some slight compensation came when Yardley got Hassett first ball. On Monday, it looked as if only rain could save us. And rain there certainly was, chasing the players to the pavilion, drenching spectators and pouring from the gutters. But it didn't last long enough from England's point of view, and Bradman declared, leaving us a paltry 596 to win. England's reply was tragic. Hutton failed at 13, and Edridge made only 2 before being caught in the slips. Then Washbrook went for 37, and the Australians were jubilant. Compton was out from the second ball of the last day. Coxon was LBW to Toshak, and the game was as good as over. We just managed to hold out till after lunch when Wright skied one, and the game was lost. The dash for souvenirs was even more desperate than usual, with Hassett and Miller hotly contesting a stump. Australia had won by 409 runs.
The one hope was that Bradman would tire himself out at public engagements. So in demand was he from the British press and the public alike.
Here the Queen is talking to Miller. The Duke of Edinburgh was there and had a chat with Don Bradman. The cricketers walked with the royal family in the grounds during this very happy and privileged occasion at the conclusion of their brilliantly successful tour. Princess Margaret with Miller and other members of the team, and the young Duke of Kent with the Australian captain. At the Aussies' farewell luncheon, held in the Savoy Hotel, London, a magnificent silver bowl was presented to Don Bradman by Lord Gowrie, MCC President, who handed it to him on behalf of subscribers from all over the country. This was a happy occasion for Don and his team, and it must have been a thrilling one indeed for the 9 young cricketers chosen by ballot to represent the schoolboys of Britain, and seen listening enthralled to Norman Yardley, England's captain. Bradman, on the eve of retirement, was in a somewhat serious mood.
I think there comes a time in every man's life, irrespective of whether he may still be good enough to carry on or not, that he should make way for a younger man. I feel that in my own case, and I think I'm probably the best judge of the many little creaks and groans that go on in my joints throughout the day, especially when we're out in the field. And I'm quite sure I shall have no regrets at all in having to sit in the pavilion and watch the other fellows. However, I do trust that in some other capacity I may be able to serve this wonderful game for many years to come. And in conclusion, may I just say, let us all continue to work for the well-being and the prosperity of this great British heritage, cricket.
When Bradman and Yardley inspected the oval pitch, it didn't look too good, but certainly no one could have guessed what was going to happen on the first day of the last test, nor indeed was the wicket really responsible. England's innings was just a procession back to the pavilion.
In the final test at the Oval, England were bowled out on a sodden pitch for 52.
Dews, 1, was first to go. He was soon followed by Edridge, 3. Then Compton, 4. Trapp, 0. Yardley, 7. Watkins, 0. Evans, 1. Bedser, 0. Lindwall, 6 for 20, bowls Young for 0. England's record low total was naturally a sensation, but it was not the only surprise of the match.
The pitch too would prove Bradman's undoing in a now legendary scene as he walked out for his final innings.
Enter Don Bradman, who got a great ovation. Then a special cheer on the field. Hollis bowling and Don playing perhaps his last test innings here. The second bowler, Googly, got him.
Never before had a 2-ball innings received such an ovation.
Well, it isn't often you get a big hand when you make a duck, but this was different.
A strange end to the greatest of careers.
Sport in Britain must obviously include Australia's victory in the last test. Yes, it was a sad story for England, but there were very bright scenes at the Oval where everything was forgotten for the moment except the importance of paying tribute to Don Bradman. It must have been almost embarrassing for that great cricketer, but it must have been a very happy moment too. Yardley, who has described Don as the greatest cricketer of all time, called on the crowd to give him 3 special cheers, which they did with a will.
So, Bradman was gone. Was there now a chink of light for English hopes?
I doubt whether many people at Sydney for the third and vital test anticipated an innings victory for Australia.
The 1951 series suggested not. Compton was out of form and the bowling attack depended too much on Bedser, who, although in magnificent form himself, couldn't carry the fight alone.
It went well for the tourists at first, both Hutton and Washbrook being apparently in form.
Australia had the extravagant all-rounder Miller playing brilliantly with bat and ball. And that enigmatic spinner Jack Iverson, whose deliveries were almost impossible to pick, was running through the English batting line-up like a dose of salts. In Sydney at the third test, the Ashes were lost once more.
Simpson held the fort for some time, playing a stubborn game. Iverson took no wickets in this innings, but he got 6 for 27 in the second. Indeed, he was largely responsible for Australia's retention of the Ashes. Nice work on the eve of retiring from Test cricket. Hutton got a great ovation at his half-century. But at 62, he was dismissed by Miller. Much was expected from Compton. Everyone looked for runs from him, but it was just one of those things, a duck to be precise. Simpson was another of Miller's victims when he'd made 49. Brown was the hero of the innings with a fine knock of 79, though it was all in vain, what with injuries and batting failures. But he certainly deserved the applause he received.
The Australian winning sequence, which stretched back to 1934, was nearly at an end. The signs were there when a strong South African side went to Australia and won early in 1953.
By scoring their second ever victory over the Aussies, their first win being 42 years ago. Much of the triumph was due to off-spinner Tayfield, seen here in action at Sydney. Tayfield took 7 for 81 in the second innings, 13 for 165 in the match. Pretty work indeed. Endine left and McGlew did good work for South Africa with the bat. Endine's 162 not out was a great knock. And opener McGlew started off with a sterling 46. Congratulations are certainly due to the South African captain Cheetham, who led his team to Test victory. Incidentally, their first win of the tour in a first-class match. Some 30,000 were there when Hutton spun the coin and Hassett called correctly. This was bad luck for England, who had to take the field. Sir Donald Bradman was present, but strictly in the role of critic today. The Australian skipper, accompanied by left-hander Morris, came out to face the onslaught of the formidable Bedser.
Lindsay Hassett was a much-loved captain, but his feats of batsmanship were cancelled out by England's own Len Hutton.
Now Statham at full speed. Hassett scores to leg, and England's former captain Brown fields the ball. Runs were coming along all right when Hutton and Brown had a conference on tactics, and Brown took a turn from the nursery end. The Australian
Ray Lindwall's fierce pace was matched by the often unplayable fast-medium deliveries of Alec Bedser.
They saw Morris beautifully stumped by Evans for 30. Harvey followed him at the wicket with the score 1 for 65. Bedser got him LBW later when he'd scored 59. Next, that great all-rounder Miller, who stayed to make 25 and to see his captain pass the 100. And then, bad luck for Hassett, a leg strain soon afterwards forced him to retire for the time being. And my hat, was it hot out there. A little refreshment now and then was most welcome. Spectators, too, seemed to feel the heat, when none of us quite used to it this year so far. Wardle had a most successful spell of bowling. He had whole court for 13, and he kept up the good work presently getting Benno LBW. And he got another wicket before the end of the day, no less a man than Miller. Cricket fans present in full force next day saw Hassett take up his innings again. And after adding 3 to his score, he was out off Bedser, caught Bailey. Lindwall gave Hutton a sharp one close in. And presently Statham dismissed the Australian fast bowler, clean bowled for 9. Bad luck seemed to be dogging Hutton. First he got a nasty crack on the elbow, later damaged a thumb and had to leave the field. Now Brown took over the captaincy. Full marks go to Davidson for his knock of 76, and Langley was nicely caught by Watson off Bedser. The Australians finished up with a total of 346.
Once again, there was little to choose between the two sides. And once again, it was a rain-affected series which came down to the final match at the Oval.
Being a 6-day affair meant that your really keen cricket fan got to the Oval early and came well equipped to stay there to the very end. Queues, in fact, soon formed and various methods were adopted for passing the time until the gates were open. When Hassett won the toss again, he equalled Sir Stanley Jackson's 1905 record of winning all 5 in the series. England had to take the field, of course, a serious disadvantage in this crucial match. Edridge, too, played a sterling innings. But with his score at 37, May was out to a fine catch by Davidson. "44 more runs to get now, and Compton as Edridge's partner." Bedser opened the attack, which for the first time in these tests included Freddie Truman expresses. But once again it was Bedser who got Morris out after he'd made 16. Then Bailey got a very useful wicket, that great batsman Miller being LBW for only 1 run. England was certainly making a good start. Presently, the Australian captain was sent back just after passing his half-century. Harvey stayed to reach 36 before being caught by Hutton off Truman. Godfrey Evans was in fine form, one of his 4 catches behind the sticks accounting for De Courcy. Hole was another of his dismissals off Truman's bowling. Alec Bedser got his 39th wicket of the series, beating Morris Tate's long-standing record when he dismissed Archer. But alas for England, Lindwall came to Australia's rescue. Passing his 50, he went on to make 62, and the Aussies eventually reached a first innings total of 275. Well, it might have been better and it might have been worse. Lindwall did his best to get Hutton out. But the English skipper only lost his cap, not his wicket, before an appeal against the light was upheld and the first day's cricket ended. When the Australians came out to field on what proved to be the last day of the final test, the Oval was crowded with spectators hoping to see May and Edridge stay.
In the second innings, England were chasing 132. Australia set aggressive fields and fought all the way.
May indeed was in first-class form.
Edridge, Hutton, May and Compton struggled for 3.5 hours. eventually winning the match by 8 wickets.
The score mounted. It was by no means going. The Aussies certainly weren't handing those Ashes back on a plate after 20 years. Then, near the end, Hassett put himself on to bowl. Morris bowled from the other end, and here it comes. A 4 by Compton wins the match, the rubber, and the Ashes. As the crowds poured onto the ground, police had a hard job in keeping them off the wicket itself.
15,000 spectators ran to the pavilion to celebrate the first Ashes victory for 20 years, and to at least pretend to commiserate with the popular Hassett and his team.
Edrich and the other cricketers on the field had an even harder job getting back to the pavilion. It certainly was a big moment in cricket history. The crowd shouted for Len Hutton, and with members of his team he appeared on a balcony. Then Hassett joined them and pretended to throw down his blazer. Speeches were called for, and first Hutton obliged.
I must say how happy and thrilled I feel about it all today. And to happen here at the Oval, which of course has always been a very happy hunting ground for me, but I feel a little bit sorry. I feel a little bit sorry for my friend Lindsay Hassett, who has had a very hard time this season, and what a wonderful opposition captain he has been to play against.
Then it was Lindsay Hassett's turn.
I would just like to offer my congratulations to Len and to all of the English team. There's no doubt about this victory. They earned it right from the very first ball to the second last over anyway. We'll be waiting for you in Australia in a couple of years' time. And I hope anyway, when whoever wins out there, that the cricket will be just as enjoyable and the result just as close as this series. Thank you very much.
It was indeed a famous English victory. Here are the men who won it, not forgetting the Ashes they got back.
The applause continued for weeks afterwards, and it was seen as another jewel in the crown of a nation who were enthusiastically celebrating the coronation of a new queen.
When it came to Len's turn to speak, he said it was easier to address the people of his hometown than to face Lindwall and Miller at the wicket. It was obviously a very happy occasion.
Len Hutton was now convinced that to hold on to the Ashes in Australia, he would need pace, and he found it in the fearsome form of Frank Typhoon Tyson.
Movietone's cameras focus on Frank Tyson, the strong right arm of England's victory at Melbourne. Taking 7 wickets for 27 runs, he recorded the best analysis of any fast bowler in a match between England and Australia. This triumphant achievement was due largely to a decision to cut down his run, thereby giving greater accuracy. Anyway, it seems that the selectors were right for once.
To no one's particular surprise, 1956 was another wet summer, but this suited the spin twins, Locke and Laker. In fact, 1956 would be Laker's finest year. It began when he took 10 wickets in an innings against the Australians for his county, Surrey. The press called it a collector's item never to be seen again, as Australia crashed their first defeat to a county side since before the First World War. But Laker would do it again, and this time in a test match.
Archer stumped Evans for 6. The end was clearly in sight. Now it's Laker to Johnson, clean bowled for a duck. Well, there it was, 84 all out. But they followed on to make 53 for 1 before the heavens opened, swamping the much maligned turf at Old Trafford, while Australia tried to figure out what caused one of the worst collapses ever seen in Test cricket. But before the magic hands of Jim Laker finished them off, MacDonald made his splendid stand, confidently defying the Surrey off-spinner. His total of 89 was the most memorable feature of the innings. Now Laker to Archer, and he's caught Oakman for a duck. What a massacre. Laker had so far taken all 9 wickets in the second innings. And here's the 10th, Laker to Maddox, and he's LBW. By taking all 10 wickets of the innings, Jim Laker has set a test record, and he's the first bowler to take the phenomenal test total of 19 wickets. With England's victory by an innings and 170 runs, the first decisive result at Old Trafford for 51 years, England retained the Ashes, and Jim Laker's triumph is complete.
But this marked the end of English success. Firstly under the tactically astute all-rounder Richie Benaud, and then later Bobby Simpson and Bill Lawry, the Australians remained unbeaten during the 1960s.
Early summer sunshine at Perth and a chance for the English tourists to get acclimatised. Alec Bedser was there to watch, so was famous old-timer Duckworth, bowler Bill Bowes, all-rounder Keith Miller, and the incomparable Sir Donald Bradman. Peter May, in spite of injury, was in his usual form. He went on to make 113. Now Truman in action. A bumper and O'Neill takes evasive action. Truman again, and the young Australian takes an easy run off him. Laker also had a bit of a duel with O'Neill, who, according to some critics, displays the quality of a Bradman. Certainly he's already a hero to the hero worshippers, especially after his brilliant century at Perth.
Most important is Richie Benaud. As a captain and tactician, he's ahead of England's Dexter. He's an attacking batsman, while the pace and bounce of Australian wickets make his leg breaks more dangerous than ever. In Sydney, he shattered our batsmen.
At Old Trafford in 1961, all of Richie's virtues were given full expression as he engineered an unlikely victory to snatch the series.
Over extra cover. Beautiful hit with the spin. Well wide of Fuller there.
Yes, now that is a great shot, Jim. You very seldom see a 6 over extra cover.
Davidson 42. And now Australia are 200 runs on. And there's 305 minutes left to play. And he hits that one very hard indeed for 4 runs. Between the bowler and long off. He's a fine bat, this chap. And that brings Davidson to 46. He doesn't take a single for that. 2 to go. I don't think he worries so much about Mackenzie at that far end, but I see that the offside field is coming all in now to save 1, but they may not save 4. There it is. Davidson's 50. What a fine innings. Last ball. He set high for 6. What a fine piece of play. Over there, long off. It's an interesting point, of course, that all the work this morning, or 3/4 of it, has been done by Davidson with a suspect thigh, is it? Or side. Made 77 runs. The chief Australian bowler. He's clean bowled him. Flavel bowls Mackenzie. And now we know exactly what the proposition is. Flavel Mackenzie bowled play ball 32. Davidson not out, 77.
So thanks to that magnificent last wicket partnership of 98, England's target was 256 to win in a little under 4 hours. In spite of the loss of Puller, caught by O'Neill off Davidson for 26, England by mid-afternoon seemed to be coasting to victory. They had more than 100 on the board, and Dexter was in full flow.
That's gone through, and that is 50.
Benno tried the high-risk strategy of bowling around the wicket to the right-handers. It worked as well as he could have hoped. In 9 overs, he captured 6 for 22, when England were looking odds-on through the cavalier batting of Ted Dexter to reach the target set for them of 256.
He's caught behind the wicket. Dexter caught behind by Grout off Benno for 76. Benno bowling round the wicket may possibly be a little bit difficult to get away. He's bowled May behind his legs, has he? Yes, he's out. Bowled behind his legs. And the picture changes with a vengeance. No, words fail me. Doesn't seem any sort of reason for this sort of approach at all. You've only got to get just over a run a minute. Now he's hit him for 6. And he's caught behind square leg. It's almost inevitable. He's clean bowled. Summerrow bowled.
Yes, he's caught by Simpson at slip. Murray caught Simpson, bowled Benno. Benno's now taken 5 for 53. 5 for 53. Yes, he's out, LBW. Barrington out, LBW, bowled Mackay for 5, and this is now 171 for 7. Oh, magnificent catch by Simpson. What a fine catch. So that's Allen out, caught Simpson, bowled Benno for 10. Oh, he's caught in the slip, caught by Benno in the slips. Truman caught Benno, bowled Simpson for 8, and England now 193 for 9. And I don't think this new ball will be needed, or not for very long. Team bowled! Australia have won, and they've kept the Ashes. They've won by 54 runs. Congratulations to Australia, to Richie Benno and his men. A really surprising victory after the return of fortunes today. I don't think anyone would have backed them.
The Australians managed the victory by 54 runs with just 20 minutes to spare. When he returned to the dressing room, Norm O'Neill filled the bath and said to his captain, "Go on, dive in. With your luck, you probably won't even get wet." They won the series 2-1.
I shan't be touring again, and that's something that makes me very sorry, because cricketers are part of my life, and I shall be very disappointed to have to give them up.
Well, you'll be available maybe for selection as cricket commentator.
Before the MCC team left for Australia, we asked skipper Ted Dexter a few questions. First of all, Ted, what about this Australian criticism that you've got too many strippers, too many fast bowlers who polish the ball on their shirts?
Yes, that's the first time I knew what a stopper was, actually. No, I think fast bowlers have always done well in Australia, and you've got to have enough on this type of trip. People can get injured, and you've got to have your reserves with you.
I see someone suggested that it doesn't do any good anyway. What do you think about that?
Well, he doesn't know much about it, if he... that's the way he thinks. No, it helps the fast bowler keep a ball in good shape.
Another thing, Ted, why are you going by air this time instead of going by sea, as the teams have always done in the past?
really it's just a domestic matter. It gives people another week at home, so that instead of having a nice sort of week's rest on the boat, they can have it with their wives and families at home, perhaps take them away on a holiday.
The Duke of Norfolk is managing the team. There's Colin Cowdrey, and another bat, Ken Barrington, with his wife seeing him off. Barry Knight may be the 17th man of the party, but he's still number one with Mrs. Knight. Looking after players who may not appear in the tests is one of Dexter's chief concerns. Exciting cricket is his principal aim. His team's average age is 28. But the England 11 know very well that the Australians are a hard bunch to crack, especially on their home ground. Easy to tell it's the test season. Only hope the Brollies at Nottingham aren't an omen for the months to come. After a delay due to early morning drizzle, Australia take the field. Hallowed ground, particularly since this part was relayed with soil from Eton. Titmus and Boycott open for England.
There were individual highlights for England during this period.
This is Boycott's first test. Here he faces Mackenzie. Australia's top fast bowler again to Titmus. Calling to Titmus. Cowdrey and Truman watching as Mackenzie's hit by Titmus for 4. Titmus is laying about him with a will. After Hawke relieved Calling, things began to warm up. Hawke to Titmus. Hawke to Boycott, who calls. Titmus runs and runs straight into Hawke. Wicketkeeper Grout merely waves the ball over the bails. Sportsmanship is still alive. And Titmus is still safe, but not for long. Hawke was to get him later in the same over. Here's the ball. Caught by Redpath for 16. The only wicket during the 90 minutes of cricket on the first day. Disappointing for the crowd of 18,000 and for cricket's royal patron, Prince Philip. Now it's Dexter in, Mackenzie bowling. Dexter's captaining England for the 26th time. Hawke to Dexter. But he was to stay safely through the first day, likewise Boycott. Then down it came again. On go the covers, up go the umbrellas. Getting monotonous, isn't it?
And as far as spin or pace is concerned, Ted Dexter, so far as we're concerned, in a minority of 1 on this issue, Dennis, rather as the selectors seem to be in a minority of 5 about playing Graveney in the test team.
Yes, agreed. I think probably you're absolutely right on the minority of 5.
Oh,
dear.
Oh, Dexter got the answer. And Truman.
Well, we're all very pleased for Fred there. I must say it wasn't a very good shot.
The greatest of all achievements, at least in the eyes of the venerable correspondent Jim Swanton, was the 300th wicket in Test cricket for Freddie Truman, which he gathered at the Oval in 1964.
Anyway, that brings Fred Truman 298 wickets. Now,
so our Fred will have his tail up now, perhaps. Oh, he's out, caught by Cowdrey! And he's done a hat-trick. 299. Oh, what about that has been above it? Well bowled Fred. 299.
Hawke 14, facing Truman.
That's it, he's on! Truman's got it, 300 test wickets. And the batsman the first to applaud him.
controlling the crowd. Oh, what a great moment, and he's hugging Cowdrey, who caught the catch. Well caught, Colin. Well, this is a great moment in cricket history you're seeing now. Jeff Boycott hugging his Yorkshire friend.
It took 13 years, 65 matches and nearly 15,000 deliveries.
Whether anyone viewing now will see this happen again. Another chap in his 65th test taking 300 wickets.
And may we wonder whether they would have found quite so many volunteer assistants if the positions of England and Australia had been reversed? Thanks to the mass effort, play could start at 4:45, an hour and a quarter left, when Australia had no chance of scoring 266, and England wanted 5 more wickets.
I think Colin Cowdrey has tried every possible permutation of the bowlers in the last 35 minutes, and the wicket is proving to be the winner. There's little help for anybody at the moment.
He's out. Well, there we are. There's the first wicket. D'Oliveira has got it. An involuntary sort of shot from Jarman. Seemed to me he was withdrawing his bat too late. Now Underwood at this end to bowl to Mallet. Who batted for 3 hours in the first Australian innings. He's out! Caught by Brown. And that one lifted. Brown delighted, not a difficult catch. 10 men round the bat. Doesn't matter about the 4s or 6s, runs don't matter at all. Ooh, he's out, is he caught? Look at Brown, look at Dave Brown, he's gone, and that was a better catch. More difficult because he had to go right low for it. Oh, what a day is Dave Brown having.
Coming in round the wicket this time, Underwood. And he got him, bowled him, off stump, knocked out of the ground, and Australia are 120 for 9 with just 1 wicket to go and 10 minutes and a half left.
Underwood took the last of his 7 wickets with 5 minutes to spare.
Appeal, he's out! He's out, WW! England have won, and the series is drawn.
1970 saw England's fortunes improve even further. John Snow, with 31 wickets, the most since Larwood's 32 in 1933, was the star, whilst Australia for the first time in 70 years dropped their captain, the unfortunate Bill Lorry.
That was a good delivery.
The pugnacious Ian Chappell took over for the final and deciding test in Sydney. After some abuse directed at Snow for a bumper that hit the number 9 Jenner, the captain, Illingworth, withdrew his team from the field. Threatened with forfeiting the match by the umpires, England returned to leave it eventually in triumph.
And the field caught, and he's bowled. He's bowled. Well, that bowled him round his legs, so Stackpole is out. There's trouble for Australia. Stumped. He's out, yes. Well bowled, Illingworth. Chappell stumped, not. Bowled, Illingworth, 30. O'Keefe not out 1. Australia 7 for 142. And Illingworth has 3 for 28. Jenner facing Underwood. And that's it. Is it? Yes, he's out. That's the end of the match.
And 12 long years from the day Peter May's team lost on the Adelaide Oval, Ray Illingworth's side has triumphed in this magnificent Sydney Test. Illingworth, leading his men in splendid fashion, won the series 2-0, and he has a royal farewell from this great ground with his players cheering him off. For this tour, the England selectors, led by Alec Bedser, chose Illingworth as captain, and now for only the 3rd time in 50 years, England have regained the Ashes in Australia. This must surely be the greatest moment of Ray Illingworth's cricketing life.
Ian Chappell's tenure as Australian captain was initially unsuccessful. He lost 7 out of 11. But the 1972 series is one of the most exciting ever. It ended in a 2-all draw, but contained 3 individual performances that will live on forever in the record books. The first was Bob Massey's Test debut at Lord's.
And it's gone. Caught at first slip by the captain, Ian Chappell. What a match Bob Massey is having.
And that's it. Alan Knott's gone the same way as the rest.
Out, Stackpole at second slip. Illingworth out. They're asking and he's gone. He's on a hat-trick. John Snow, first ball. He's out. Edwards has caught him behind square leg. It was a good, authentic stroke. And that's out. And that's the end of the England second innings. Price the man out. Caught Greg Chappell, bowl Massey for 19. It gives Massey his bag of 8 in each innings. A wonderful performance.
So it's Ian Chappell now facing Jeff Arnold.
Needing victory at the Oval, the Chappell brothers, Ian and Greg, became the first brothers to score Test match centuries in the same match in a stand worth 201.
It's Ian Chappell following a similar shot in this over to Greg. 2 boundaries in this over coming off the hook shot.
That's a good shot. Takes Ian Chappell on to 63. Nicely positioned there, beaten for an instant in the flight by Underwood. Greg Chappell, 2 for the 100 now, faces John Snow. And that's probably it. Yes, he'll take 2 here. Really good innings from Greg Chappell. He hit his 100 in 190 minutes. Scarcely a false stroke in that time. He hit 15 boundaries. Most of them very good and beautifully timed. It's his 3rd Test century and he's made all of them against England. That's 4 more. That's a good shot. That's one of the best shots he's played in this innings. Very strong through that area. He's hit 3 boundaries off John Snow through there. But that one was probably the best of all.
And that's a handsome on drive by Greg Chappell, moving his feet delightfully, hammering it away between mid-wicket and mid-on. Applause from this enormous crowd here, because that takes the total on to 235, and that's the 200 partnership between the 2 Chappell brothers. So a wonderful batting exhibition by these 2 boys from South Australia. 200 has come in 241 minutes. And that's it, and Tony Gregg has caught him at mid-wicket. Greg Chappell going for the drive for his 2nd successive time, failing to clear that tall figure of Tony Gregg at deepish mid-wicket. He's made sure of that one, dropped short enough for him to put away so easily between mid-wicket and mid-on. Down the wicket, has he got an edge? Yes, he's got an edge, a thickish edge, no slip. It's been a slip, it's been a catch off the edge. It's gone through there. It's taken Ian Chappell to his 7th Test 100. Moves on to 102. It's taken him 4.5 hours to complete, but really a fine effort for his side. Also takes him on to 2,500 runs in Test match cricket.
Lilly, his first ball to Edridge.
Chappell's captaincy was picking up a head of steam, courtesy of 2 legends of the game, Dennis Lilly and Jeff Thompson.
There, it wasn't, I should think, it couldn't be termed a bouncer.
It is a possibility that his ribs could be broken, actually, and I looked...
In 1974-75, bowling in tandem for the first time, they tore through an ageing England team, winning the series 4-1 with Thompson bagging 33 wickets, despite playing only 4.5 of the 6 Test matches.
Threw his gloves off, that must have hurt on his right hand.
No worries there, over pitch 1, and that's where he likes them.
To try and counter the quickest and most intimidating combination in Test cricket, the England selectors called on the little-known Northants batsman David Steele. Described by Jeff Thompson as looking like Groucho Marx, and by John Arlott as a bank manager on his way to war, Steele was an unlikely hero. But he stood up to the challenge in the 1975 home series, scoring 365 runs at 60.83 in the 4-match series.
That's a fine shot. First time he's really been able to time the hook off Jeff Thompson, got into position nicely. David Steele with that boundary, taking his score now on to 92.
4 runs, no third man. Chappell having pulled up the extra man into the slip cordon.
Found the gap nicely. That's exactly where they took the man from. Lovely little sweep shot there by David Steele, going through for 4. Well, all batsmen are pleased when they do something like that. The field being moved, leaving him the gap round the corner, and he found it the very next ball. Short one, put away nicely again through mid-wicket by Steele, off the back foot. Not hit with any power at all, but nicely timed. The ball hurrying through on this fast oval outfield for 4 runs. And that's off an outside edge, and that'll go through for David Steele's 50. And what a great performance by this cricketer from Northampton. He goes on every match, nothing seems to worry him, plays every ball on its merit. A remarkable achievement by him in this Test match series. And it makes one wonder whether there might not be 1 or 2 other cricketers knocking around county cricket, such as he's done, who could do a similar job.
I feel that it's a great privilege for myself to give David Steele this award on behalf of the BBC, because there's nobody who has set a greater example of sportsmanship. And whether we're interested in amateur or professional sport, it's the type of example set by David Steele which inspires people, a true sportsman, and I'm delighted to be able to make this presentation tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank the sports viewers for voting me this award for 1975. This has been a wonderful year for me in more ways than one, and I would like to thank them once again for this wonderful trophy. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Is that it? Yes, it's carried and he's gone, and Lilly snapped up the first wicket, that of Bob Woolmer. Scored a slip with the total on 19.
A one-off Test match was played at the MCG in 1977 to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the first Test match there. The Ashes weren't at stake, but it is worthy of inclusion for Randall's contribution with the bat and Lilly's with the ball. It was maybe the best Test match of the 1970s.
He's happy to go. Off like a shot, Crisell. First ball, lifter, a little touch, caught behind. No problem at all for Dennis Lilly.
And the field, the leg before, he's out. Lilly 5 for 25. Not leg before to Lilly for 15. 9 for 86. And a chance, he's out. It's all over. Marsh again, a brilliant catch. Marsh has taken 4 catches. England all out 95. Lever caught Marsh, bowled Lilly for 11. Lilly 6 for 26. One of the greatest performances of his career.
Lilly took 6 for 26 in the first innings. and in the second, England were chasing 453 to win. Incredibly, an innings by Randall saw them almost within sight of it.
I think that surely is an indication of this slow, easy-paced wicket now. Very, very seldom, I think, that you see an Englishman being able to hook Lilly in front of square. Great shot by Randall. Moves on now to 42. The total approaching the 3-figure mark.
An appeal this time, and really shouting that appeal.
That's close. He's well down. It's, oh, there's a nice. Here we go. Here's the play acting. Oh, thank you very much, he says. Oh, this is nice, isn't it? Friendly game of cricket.
And they're going for a run. That's his 100. Magnificent effort. Derek Randall, 100 in his first test against Australia. A very great effort indeed, and it's been a fine innings throughout. And they ball called, and out to the boundary it goes, but right inside that and whacked it right at backward square. Randall 107.
That's a glorious shot. Quite a half ball, struck that on the up, placed it to perfection between cover and mid-off, and it races through for another boundary for young Derek Randall. He's loving every minute of it. Took him by surprise. Roy James let that one go. And another really glorious drive. That should beat the fieldsman. Got the extra little bit of power. And fairly hammered away through the cover area by Randall. Once again, fractionally short.
Caught is he? He's walked. He's gone. Randall caught by Cozier. Well, there's a bit of poetic justice. Cozier taking an absolutely brilliant catch of the bowling O'Keefe. And there's a wonderful innings. I'm sure this man will get a standing ovation for this extraordinary performance of scoring 174. One of the finest innings we've seen in years and years on this Melbourne ground.
Lilly mopped up the tail, and Australia won by 45 runs, which bizarrely enough was exactly the same margin of victory as 100 years before.
Lilly has struck again to finish off this test match. England all out for 417. Another great performance there by Lilly to see the end of England. And Australia triumphs.
Soon after Randall's jolly japes, a cloud settled over the game of cricket in the shape of Kerry Packer's World Series. Most of the 1977 Australian touring side had signed up, and England captain Tony Greig had been axed due to his connections to World Series.
He plays so well.
Mike Brearley, perhaps the finest tactician since Benno, replaced him. Geoffrey Boycott returned after a controversial absence from the team, and in the fourth test achieved a career milestone on his home ground.
Just had the preference over Kerry O'Keefe for the 11th place in the side this morning. Beautifully placed shot. Starts with a half volley, a loosener, and once again Boycott very quick to latch onto it. That's driven very firmly and very correctly through the offside. That's it. That's a half volley through mid-arm for 4. The bat goes in the air. The England players come out to applaud what really has got to be a moment here of cricket history. Geoffrey Boycott. 100 hundreds and the place to get it in the middle of a test match against Australia on his home ground at Headingley. Superb performance from the moment he came in. Taken 319 minutes, he's hit 14 fours, and it's his 1400 in test match cricket. His 5th against Australia.
This series also saw the introduction of a 21-year-old Ian Botham, who not surprisingly made an immediate impression upon his debut.
He's out. Oh, yes, he's out. Second, third attempt there by Randall. Sargent flops to the ground. Rodney Marsh, really not a very good shot from such a seasoned campaigner.
Taking a single here again, a shot at the stumps by Brearley, and he hit them, and he is home. Very good shot by Brearley that time. Well,
It seemed, though, that the World Series had mortally wounded Test cricket. Mike Brearley's touring side of 1978-9 won England's biggest victory in Ashes history over an inexperienced Australian side, winning 5-1.
May reach the fence. It was nicely timed by Brearley, and that's going to be 4 runs. So he goes on to 6, and the total to 10. Now it's Yardley from this end. He'll bowl to Brearley. 1 for 31, 34 required. And lofted over the high over this could be the winning hit, and out to the boundary it goes, and Mike Brearley has made the winning hit. It's all over, 1 for 35. Brearley 20 not out. A great finish for Brearley to win the match. He's the first captain in history to lead a team in Australia to 5 Test wins. 5-1 England has won the series.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to thank the English team for defeating us so convincingly in the series. But, you know, we're not going to lose heart. We're a very young side and very inexperienced in the number of Test matches that we have played. And I feel that we've learned a lot from this series, from the Englishmen, from our own play. And also I'd just like to thank Benson and Hedges once again for sponsoring this wonderful game. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say, needless to say, we've enjoyed our tour of Australia enormously, and I'd like to give enormous credit to the members of the England side for the way they played, fielding, batting and bowling. Tremendous performance. Bad luck to the Australians. I think that they've come across some pitches which haven't helped them play when they're a little less experienced than we are.
Yeah, what a triumph for him it would be if he could still be batting at 6 o'clock this evening.
As it transpired, the Packer circus didn't last long, and the players were gradually integrated back into Test cricket. The next time the countries met with the Ashes at stake was 1981, with both teams fielding the best sides available.
Allman pitching up again.
It was a series of 2 distinct parts. Ian Botham began as captain and presided over an opening defeat and a draw at Lord's. The selectors sacked him as captain, but kept him in the team. Mike Brearley was called back into the side, and a legend was in the making. In the 3rd Test, England had been asked to follow on, and were 135 for 7 when Botham came to the wicket. He told his partner, Test debutant Graham Dilley, that they might as well have some fun, and they did.
Yep, that's beaten him. 4 more.
It's a no ball and it's 4. 99 to Botham. And that's as good as any stroke he's played all day. Safely away for 4. That's a splendid 100. A great innings by Ian Botham. Well, if he sticks around for too much longer, we'll be starting to think in terms of what might England's bowlers do on this pitch.
Dilley crashed a half-century and Botham finished on 149 not out.
Oh, magnificent stroke. 4 more runs. Lawson getting tired.
At least Australia had been set a target, even if it was a meagre 130. Clearly, England's bowlers needed to be in spectacular form. As it transpired, just one of them needed to be.
Difficult delivery, he's gone, and there's not much that could be done about that. Oh, what a good catch. Everything is running for Botham. Runs, wickets and catches, and the Australian captain goes for naught. Oh, good catch. Super catch that.
In the air, Dilley is underneath it. And he's got it! A very, very good catch indeed in the circumstances. touch and he's gone. Willis has taken his 6th wicket. Oh, what a good catch. Bowl him. It's all over. And it is one of the most fantastic victories ever known in Test cricket history. Bob Willis, 8 wickets, a fabulous performance. England have won this match after one of the most astonishing fightbacks you could ever see.
And he's gone. Tremendous shout going up there, and Yallop goes. Embry has made the breakthrough. Is it too late? That's the question to be asked. So Yallop goes for 30, 4 men out now for 87.
And that's well bowled. Out of a bit of rough stuff there.
At Edgbaston, the scenario was strangely familiar. Australia were chasing 151 to win and looked to be cruising comfortably until Brearley turned to a reluctant Botham to have another go with the ball.
37 needed to win, and Brearley's brought Botham back to bowl at Marsh. Bowled him. 114 for 6. Rodney Marsh goes, trying to hit it away through mid-on, across the line. 114 for 6, and the crowd has gone noisily berserk. He's out. LBW. First ball, and Botham's on a hat-trick. And he wasn't far away from it either. Second attempt, and Bob Taylor grabbed it. Lilly is gone. It's 120 for 8.
And you can see how wide that delivery was. And up she goes, out she goes.
Botham again to count.
And he's bowled him, and that surely is going to be it. A joyous, triumphant Botham there. Arms aloft again, 121 for 9.
Alderman facing.
That's it this time. He's made sure he's taken 5 wickets. He grabs us up.
England were victorious by 29 runs and were 2-1 up in the series.
And they mustn't give him room outside the off stump.
The Ashes were settled at Old Trafford, with Botham scoring 118 in 102 balls in the second innings to set the Australians an unreachable total.
That was a good hit. In the air. And again. He's beaten Whitney and Wood away there at deep square. They're just not learning at all, the Australian bowlers. In the air for 6. He plays that shot very well. And away over extra cover. 3-4 bounces and over the ropes.
Well, that one didn't. Lilly's there. It's cleared him over the ropes. What a magnificent way to go to a 6. What a superlative exhibition this has been.
And there's another one.
Little bit of lift there and he's gone, caught behind, and the end of a truly memorable, magnificent performance by Ian Botham. 118. Young Mike Whitney takes his wicket. It's another very simple catch, in fact, this time to Rod Marsh. But the whole of Old Trafford
you can be sure will be on their feet.
He finished the series with 399 runs and 34 wickets, and indisputably was the difference between the two sides. I was fortunate enough to captain a winning side in 1985 against Alan Border's Australians. Also made a few runs, actually.
Oh, lovely stroke. Lent into that again. Stroked it through the offside for 4 more.
That's 100 for David Gower. Another Test match century for the England captain. And life is pretty good for him at the moment.
And the 200 partnership coming up in the last over before tea.
Full pitch, and that's just what Graham Gooch wanted, because that will surely take him to 100. No problem at all, it's over the ropes now. And a great relief for Graham Gooch. Long wait to make his first 100 against Australia. Something of a mystery that it hasn't happened before. But he finally goes to 101 out of 227 for 1. Pitch driven quite beautifully again through the covers. No need for anybody to move there. 4 runs.
Shot.
That's a short one, which you can't bowl the Gooch. With 140 odd on the board, it's 4 more. 320 up, and that means a 300 partnership. Golden days for English cricket this summer. Lawson then continues round the wicket. Gooch on 147. Fine shot. Excellent way to go through to a 150. 151 for Graham Gooch. Those runs coming out of a total of 328 for 1. Gilbert to Gower. Oh, a cracking shot. Gower enjoying that, as indeed the crowd have. So he too goes onto another landmark. 151 out of a 349 for 1 score.
Our batsmen were backed up by some devastating swing bowling from Richard Ellison, and we won the series 3-1.
Ellison under Border. Well, what about that? Border goes clean bowl by Ellison, 36 for 5. Real drama.
The core values of the modern Australian team, professionalism, persistence and self-belief, were established under Alan Border's captaincy. 1989 saw the first stirrings of this new spirit. Alan Border's revenge for 1985 was very sweet.
Big shout. Chris Border's gone.
Alderman to Kim Barnett.
Having missed several series due to injury and suspension, Terry Alderman had the series of his life, taking 41 wickets in total, an Ashes record.
And Kim Barnett gone with Alderman making the ball run away. Blow for England. Barnett out for 34, 67 for 2. Oh, that's out. Lamb gone in exactly the same way as first innings, caught by Boone off the bowling of Alderman. What a great double strike by the fast bowler there. And that's out. Indeterminate shot, little bit of movement, and Australia missing nothing now.
Oh, what a marvellous catch. What a marvellous catch. That is the type of catch that produces Test match victory.
Just about the most durable cricketer you could ever imagine. Alan Border.
The Ashes were eventually lost in the 4th Test at Old Trafford, and the Australians walked off worthy winners 4-0. They were back in 1993, and the defining moment in the series once more came very early on, the second day of the first Test, in fact, and perhaps the most famous delivery in Test cricket.
And he also has a flipper. First ball. Now what's happened? Mike Gatting staying there. The bail is off. He's bowled him. Gatting can't believe it. Dickie Bird, I suppose, can believe it. First ball, lethal. So I think for a moment that Mike Gatting must have felt that it perhaps hit the keeper and went back onto the stumps. It was a perfectly pitched leg spinner, pitching just outside leg with a little bit of curve, and that's a beautiful delivery. Not a bad one to start with. I can understand Mike Gatting being disbelieving.
That was amazing. It was it just drifted in as leg spinners do, opening up Gatting's right shoulder. You see the shoulder coming open and then zipping back and cracking against the off stump.
Warne would take 34 wickets in the series.
Oh, that's out. Flipper, and Shane Warne hasn't pitched that too many times in this series, but he's learning quickly and he's learning well.
Bowled him. Well, and that is the variation that worked. It spun prodigiously from outside the leg stump where a lot of the rough is.
Yes, LBW, Alex Stewart. I'd suggest that was pitching on the stumps and was going on to hit the stumps.
Stumped him.
So Thorpe is gone.
And this is the 5th wicket for Shane Warne.
The War twins echoed the Chappells 21 years earlier as they scored centuries in the same match. Heavy scoring was once again the order of the day as Slater, Boone and Taylor backed up the twins.
That's the 100 partnership for Mark Waugh and Steve Waugh. Shot. That will be the 100 for Mark Waugh. Beautiful innings. Wonderful knock from him. He's played very well throughout the series. First time he's gone on to 3 figures. And thoroughly deserved.
Lovely shot. Doesn't have to be a true half volley for Steve Waugh to pierce the offside. That should be it. In nearly 25 minutes Steve Waugh's been on 98, but that's it. Lovely 100. Brother Mark. And that's his 5th 100, his 3rd against England, all in this country.
Clever captaincy, whether by Border, Taylor or Steve Waugh, the relentless compiling of runs, aggressive pace bowling allied to Warne's ever-present leg spin, is a combination that brought Australia all the Ashes series victories throughout the 90s and made them in the process the preeminent team in world cricket by the end of that decade.
Scores tied.
England seemed to have developed a psychological block in relation to the Australians. However, under captain Nasser Hussain and coach Duncan Fletcher, a run of form was put together, beginning with a dramatic series win over the West Indies in 2000.
That's it. That is a magnificent victory and a wonderful cricket match played by two splendid teams.
Unexpected victories over Pakistan and Sri Lanka followed in the winter.
We've got 2 overs and 4 balls left, 2 runs to win. Ryan Khan's thrown in the towel. He's hardly even bothering to change the field. 2 runs to win, you've got to bring the men in. That's normal practice. That's through, that's an inside edge. This could be it. Already, Nasser Hussain is celebrating. England have won this 3rd Test match at Karachi. Pakistan's unbeaten record goes up in smoke.
At the same time, Australia themselves were losing in a close-fought battle in India.
One of the great fast bowlers of all time has the ball in his hand. He is roaring in now to Hafizan Singh. Oh, he's got it away. This will be it. We'll come back for the second. India have won the Test match. India have won the series.
So it looked as though the Ashes 2001 was set out to be one of the closest contests in recent years. The wheels came off for the England team almost immediately as they fell to an innings defeat at Edgbaston. Slater's first over facing Darren Gough was another series-defining moment that the Australians are so good at.
And then a desperate moment for England, but for Nasser Hussain in particular. A bad blow to his top hand. Remember, it was the right thumb of the bottom hand that was broken by Shoaib Akhtar 6 or 7 weeks ago. Now he got a hit on the top hand from a very, 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 I mean, quick ball.
158 Test match catches for Mark Waugh, a world record, and here are a selection of some of them from this series. That was Mark Butcher in the first innings here. Fairly regulation catch that. And he's very good against the right-hand batsman. Second slip, that was Atherton at Edgbaston. Look at this reaction, that's almost behind him. Grabbed one-handed, typical Mark Waugh, very relaxed hands. Slightly easier one from Atherton in the second innings. Nice waist-high catch. You can catch them from all sorts of levels and from all sorts of bowlers. This was a tricky one off Marcus Trescothick from Shane Warne. Very close from the back there. And finally today, the wicket of Darren Gough is 6th of the series. Neatly pouched. He is the world's premier ball snaffler, Mark Waugh.
At Lord's, at least they were made to bat twice, but chasing 14 wasn't going to bring back memories of 81.
And there it is. Matthew Hayden got into a bobby pair early on and now has hit the winning run. Oh, lovely shot for 4. Wonderful stroke. Round about the pads again. That's not the place.
At Trent Bridge, the Ashes were lost once more.
Too short. Not going to work with Damien Martin.
Dreamy stroke. Oh, hello. There's a chase on here for Robert Croft. The scores are level. No ball. The Ashes have gone to Australia. They have taken the series. They are 3-0 ahead with 2 to play. And wonderful stroke play has seen them there. This one of the finest cricket teams that have ever played the game.
proving exactly that with a resounding performance here at Trent Bridge.
Perhaps there is a chink of light, and it came at Headingley. Mark Butcher's 173 to win the match was a fearless knock. Even the well-drilled Australians began to look ragged as he drove and carved his way towards the winning total of 315, set after captain Adam Gilchrist's generous declaration.
Up and over deliberately.
Great shot.
Three for victory.
And that is the win for England. Is it? Umpire Willie has raised his finger. I don't know that Alex Stewart is what you'd term totally happy. It seemed one of the more spontaneous shouts I've seen, although I have been known to say don't pay too much attention to the shouts out there. And Shane Warner's got his 400th wicket in Test cricket.
So let's remember that a mere 5 years after the Invincibles sailed for home, the Ashes were in the hands of Len Hutton on the balcony here at the Oval. So what price an England Ashes win in 2005?